Welcome to the first battle report for the Mage Knight campaign, Elemental League versus the Necropolis Sect, a 300-point campaign battle report. So I want to preface this before I get into the report and say that it was delayed. This was my first time running this home setup, so there were some technical issues. I learned a lot. There were some problems with some of the photos. But the next campaign battles will be a lot. I did learn a lot this first time. And so I think the next ones are going to be much easier. So just keep that in mind. And despite perhaps some of the quality, some of the photos being blurry and other things, and the lighting, I hope you still enjoy it. Thank you. A graveyard lays as a memorial to fallen warriors. Untold years before, a battle took place in this grove. Although the guardians of the forest were victorious, they took a heavy price in the form of lives. After the battle, the bodies were gathered together. Rituals and blessings for their dead friends were done before burying them. It is a holy place where fallen warriors are left to be alone to enjoy the peaceful glade where they gave their lives to protect. But on a late afternoon, the peace of the graveyard was disturbed. A grave robber rummages through the bones of the burial site, quickly stitching bones and ragged clothing together. So many toys have I found, master. Transfixed in his work, the grave robber did not notice the light steps of Laurel as she moved swiftly across the glade on her patrol. As she came around the path to drink of water, she noticed movement in the usually quiet memorial grounds. Her steps softened, her gallop slowed to creeping steps as she notched an arrow in her quiver. Following noise, she came to the clearing to be horrified by what lay before her. "No," she cried, a mistake she regretted immediately. A moment of lost composure gave away her position. The necromancer fixed his eyes and said, "A new toy for my master." Around him, bones coagulated together rapidly. Laurel bolted away to her scouting party to seek aid. Priestess Rowan, evil has come to our hallowed grades. The Necropolis Sect. Those forsaken devils, quickly gather the local garrison with all haste. I will go to contain this pestilence as best I can. In this battle, it is the Elemental League versus the Necropolis Sect. For the Elemental League, their goal is to kill the grave robber before he completes the ritual. The Necropolis Sect only have to have the grave robber channel their ritual 7 times. In addition to this, there is a growing power that is happening, a growing dark power. At the end of the Necropolis Sect turn, we'll roll 2d6 and add the ritual count. On a 14 plus, we'll roll on the table, and to have a 1 random enemy is activated. On a 2, the Necropolis Sect gains 1 free activation, and as you go up, it goes to 2 and 3 activations, or the units being activated. This is a 300-point battle. Rowan and Laurel, 4 Crystal Bladesmen, a Crystal Sprite, 2 Woodland Snipers, 2 Rangers, and 2 Centaur Lieutenants. From the Necropolis Sect, a Grave Robber, 2 Bone Golems, 2 Flesh Golems, a Troll Zombie, 3 Zombies that are blue, 2 Zombies that are yellow, 4 Skeletons, and 6 Skeleton Archers. The battlefield is set. The Elemental League come, and their nimbleness allows them to have the first turn. The Crystal Bladesmen move up towards the center, while the Sniper and the Archers, they move up as well to form a firing position around the lake. The Centaurs march in order around the flank to try to attack the flank. As the first turn ends, they begin moving forward. In response, The Necropolis Sect sends its zombies and its golem hordes of flesh and bone golems forward. The zombies, led by the troll zombie, form and move around the flank to protect against the centaurs. The sprite in Elemental League, the sprite moves up to reinforce in the trees. On the Necropolis Sect next turn, the skeletons begin to move forward to reinforce their zombie brethren. In addition to that, the Grave Robber begins the ritual. For the Elemental League, the archers form a firing line, as well as the centaurs push up to get closer to the flank. The sprite moves on the ocean, pushing to gain a better position. The troll zombies and the zombie move up to protect the flank and stop the centaurs from moving around. The skeleton reinforces the trolls. The zombies push towards the bottom to stop the crystal bladesmen, knowing that their numbers can easily be replenished. Over this turn, we see that the Necropolis Sect very quickly push forward to halt the elven lines, especially the archers and the centaurs, before they can gain a quick foothold. The crystal bladesmen move up to engage one of the zombies. Rowan, seeing that the sprite has been pushed and taken damage, heals her. She's now at full. At the end of the turn, we see the centaurs move a little closer within their charged striking distance of the zombies. The armies are moving towards the center of the battlefield to fight. The skeletons also begin moving forward, protected by the zombies. The skeleton warrior moves up, trying to get in range of his deadly weapon master. The flesh golems take the center. Not only are they powerful, but each of them is extremely tough and difficult to kill. They know they are a great force to slow down the elven line. The Necromancer casts the second ritual. He is now able to begin rolling on the dark power table. His first roll is a 5. No dark power. After that turn, we see the Necropolis Sect form a center to block every avenue for the Elemental League to gain. The Elemental League must be able to fight through these undead. On their turn, the archers begin shooting to weaken the center line. They shoot at the bone golem first. They hit and do 2 damage to the bone golem. The archers on the other side also shoot the remaining that same bone golem, hitting him also and damaging him now, removing his weapon master, although he is still pretty difficult to kill. The centaur lieutenant moves over and goes to capture the zombie, knowing that captured units cannot be raised. He hits and moves to capture the zombie. At the end of the turn, we see the centaurs begin engaging towards the top, while the elven line tries to soften up the center with their fire. On their turn, the troll zombie moves into the centaur lieutenant, looking to push and damage him to free up his zombie brethren. The zombie, not worrying about exhaustion, pushes to attack one of the crystal bladesmen. He attacks, but he misses. After that, the dark power table is rolled, still nothing. On their turn, the centaur lieutenant moves around the back to flank the troll zombie. He attacks the troll zombie, hitting it and damaging it. Laurel moves up to shoot the skeleton and rolls a critical hit. With that, the skeleton is taken care of and killed, being relatively weak. At the end of the turn, we see that the centaurs are engaging to the top zombie flank, while the center tries to continue to hold. The skeleton moves up to reinforce his dead brethren. The other skeleton also pushes to engage the woodland sprite, knowing that he can push his weapon master and easily dispatch the weak creature. On the dark power table, although it is growing, it is still not enough to activate. The sprite, sensing that she will be attacked next turn, rolls and makes her push roll to flee the skeleton. She moves over in place of the Crystal Bladesman. Rowan also moves up to reinforce and protect the Crystal Bladesman. The centaur that was originally moved into attacks the troll zombie, hitting him and heavily damaging him. He is now almost dead, but is also able to regen. At the end of a turn, we see the elven lines, the centaurs, continue to try to clear up the top part, while the center of the elven lines and the bottom are certainly looking to be bogged down. On the Necropolis Sect turn, the golems move up to engage the centaurs and move up to engage the archers. The grave robber continues to cast his ritual. He is now at 3, only 4 left. On the dark power table, it is still not quite enough. At the end of the Necropolis Sect turn, we see the golems have engaged the center lines to stop anything that is happening from the top and the center. We will see what the Elemental League can do. For the Elemental League, the centaur turns and attacks to capture the zombie that is behind him. He rolls and is successful, and he captures the zombie. With 2 of the zombies being captured, it is only the troll zombie that is there, and he's heavily weakened. The flank for a moment looks to be cracking. Laurel moves up to shoot to take out the other skeleton. She rolls an 11, and the other skeleton falls down. The top section is looking to clear up pretty soon. The snipers shoot at the skeleton in the water, hitting it and taking it out as well. At the end of the Elemental League, we begin to see the top of the flank begin to crack, as the troll zombie being heavily injured and both of the zombies with him are captured. Laurel has also managed to clear out both of the skeletons. While in the middle, the archers are quickly being bogged down by the golems. And in the bottom, the bladesmen also still have 3 zombies themselves to deal with. The bladesmen now begin attacking the zombies. The first one rolls. I'm sorry, this is the Necropolis Sect turn. The 2 zombies move up to engage the bladesmen. The bone goblin pushes to hit the ranger, but he fails to hit him just barely, needing a 15. The bone golem also has taken fatigue damage. On the dark power table, they roll. Although closer, it is not quite there. At the end of the Necropolis Sect turn, we see that the zombies have now completely blocked all the Crystal Bladesmen as they've moved up that turn, and while unsuccessful, the Bone Golem is still tough enough to hold back the archers. On the Elemental League turn, the Crystal Bladesmen attack the zombies. The first one hits, and rolls a 4 for Weapon Master. That is enough to kill the zombie. The middle Crystal Bladesman attacks the middle zombie. He attacks and hits, and rolls a 4 for damage, but this zombie is tougher and hasn't quite been dead. The last Crystal Bladesman attacks and hits the zombie and rolls a 4 for damage. But that zombie is also taken care of. Sorry, it's a 5 Weapon Master damage, and that is enough to kill the zombie. There's only one zombie left, but that one zombie is also holding up all this flank as well. At the end of their turn, we do see the zombies being cleared out, but because they weren't able to clear out all 3, the bottom flank is continuing to be held up. And although while some of the centaurs have cleared the top, there is still plenty of archers and plenty of models there to block him further. On the Necropolis Sect turn, we see the golems move fully, knowing that they cannot hold down the swift centaurs. They move into the archer line. Not only are they powerful, but they are also extremely tough, effectively trying to remove the archers from the game. The troll zombie tries a regen attempt, knowing that if he is there, he can further slow the centaurs. But he rolls a 2 and fails to regen. The grave robber also now casts his dark ritual, more than halfway complete. On the dark power table, it is still not enough, but getting closer. At the end of the Necropolis Sect turn, things are starting to look in their favor. More than halfway through their objective, the archers and the crystal bladesmen seem to be bogged down, with the centaurs still on their side of the field. The bladesman, trying to clear up the center, moves to engage the flank of the flesh golems. The flesh golems turn to face him. The woodland sniper takes out her short sword and strikes at the bone golem. She hits and does 2 damage to him. The centaur flanks the bone golem, who turns to face him. He attacks, damaging it, taking it down, and significantly weakening the bone golem. At the end of the Elemental League turn, the center is still being clogged up, while the lower flank must still deal with the zombie. On the Necropolis Sect turn, the skeleton moves up. The flesh golem pushes to hurt the crystal bladesman, worrying about his weapon master. He hits and does 2 damage. The flesh golem also takes exhaustion damage. The skeleton archer moves to seek cover and to shoot Laurel, knowing that if he can wound her, he can significantly weaken her. On the dark power table, it is rolled, and on 9, it is just barely not enough to activate the dark power. At the end of the turn, we see still that the Elemental League is being held down. The grave robber has now ready to cast another ritual, which will put him at 5. Laurel moves and shoots at the skeleton in the center to clear a path through. But this time, she misses, and the skeleton is undaunted. The centaur lieutenant attacks the remaining troll zombie, hitting it and taking it out. The crystal bladesman attacks the remaining zombie, hitting it and finally killing it, allowing the southern flank to be freed up to attack. At the end of the Elemental League turn, it is still there, but they've at least managed to take out the zombie. On their turn, the grave robber, knowing that the centaurs are coming, takes a moment to raise a fresh troll zombie to stall for a little longer. He knows he is very close. The troll zombie then moves to reinforce the top where the centaurs are on their way. The archer pushes to try and attack and wound Laurel, but his arrow misses and he does take some fatigue damage. An 8 is rolled on the table. They're getting so close, but not quite yet. At the end of their turn, They see the bottom flank has been moved and the Crystal Bladesmen are on their way, but the skeleton and the troll zombie are there to reinforce. On the Elemental League's turn, led by Rowan, hopefully using her spells to protect the Crystal Bladesmen, they move towards the flank. The Centaur attacks the wounded Bone Golem, hitting it and killing it. It clears a path for the sniper to take out the skeleton. She shoots, but she also misses. The skeleton has survived yet again to block the center. At the end of the Elemental League turn, the skeleton in the center has not been taken out, and therefore he is protecting the center, while the troll zombie is also protecting the north, and the archers are there to block the south. The archers move and they begin to shoot the Crystal Bladesmen to remove their powerful weapon masters. With a roll to 8, it hits true, and 1 damage is done, but 1 damage is enough to injure the Crystal Bladesmen. The second 2 set of archers also shoot. They roll a 9, and they also hit the other Crystal Bladesman, wounding him as well. Even with Rowan's defend special power, their arrows just seem to be striking true. The skeleton moves to ensnare Laurel, and 8 is rolled on the dark power table. They are so close, but not quite yet. At the end of the Necropolis Sect turn, we see some key victories in the skeleton archers able to wound several of the Crystal Bladesmen, while the troll zombie and the archer move up to engage. The centaur moves in to attack the skeleton warrior. He attacks, he hits this time, and finally the skeleton warrior is taken out. Laurel moves and shoots at the archer in the forest. She hits it, and the 2 damage is enough to take out the archer. The sniper attacks the flesh golem. She hits it, even though it's in the rear, but he barely seems to feel the damage, the flesh golems being very tough. As the tide turns, as most of the Elemental League is held up, and the Bladesmen have been wounded, it does not look good for them. At this point, he channels again at 5 now. He's very close, with only 2 left, and the dark power table is ever getting closer. The troll zombie moves towards the center to block against Laurel, as well as the Bladesmen if needed. The flesh golems attack the Bladesmen but miss. The dark tower table is rolled, but with a low roll, it is not quite there. At the end of the turn, we still see that the Necropolis Sect are heavily in command this game. The Crystal Bladesmen move in. Although they are injured, they move in to try to take out the skeletons and maybe free up a space to get to the Necromancer, who is now at 5. The Centaur Lieutenant rushes towards the Grave Robber, knowing that he can hopefully try to get there in time to stall. Leaving her comrades, who are effectively out of the battlefield, the sniper pushes forward. At the end of the turn, we see the elves finally make some traction and get some of their units towards the Necropolis side of the board, but many of their units are still on their side of the board. The skeletons attack the 1 unwounded Bladesman. They hit as well with an 8. Even with Rowan's protection, the archers continue to strike true, as if they are sensing victory. The last Crystal Bladesman has his weapon master removed. The flesh golems hit, this time, the injured Bladesman, heavily damaging him and removing his weapon master. This is how it is at the end of the turn. On the dark power table, it finally activates with a 10. On a roll, it is a 6, which means that if things aren't bad enough, the Necropolis Sects get 3 new activations, effectively a second turn. The elves in this idea are stunned by a blast of pulse of light that stuns and freezes them, and as they recover, their enemy seems unaffected. The Necropolis Sect will now get 3 additional activations. The first activation is to move the troll to block the Centaur Lieutenant from getting past him. The Necromancer now challenges again. With only one option left to go, he can now push to get his 7th objective and win the game. The skeleton also attacks the Crystal Bladesman, and despite Ro's power, it seems that she's powerless to stop the skeleton archers from attacking. He is hit, and he is wounded again. It seems as if all is lost for the Elemental League. At the end of their turn, effectively their double turn, the Elemental League are in a desperate strait. Trying to reach the Grave Robber, the Centaur Lieutenant effectively is able to break away. But even with his 10 move, the Troll Zombie has stopped him enough so that he's not able to reach the Grave Robber. In a desperate attempt to stave off the inevitable, the sprite pushes herself and goes into case contact with the Grave Robber. She is now only with 1 hit point left and is demoralized. Seeing a small hope, the other centaur rushes toward the aid. The Grave Robber seems to laugh at the desperate attempt. He telepathically sends his skeletons to block the centaur, and then he takes out his dagger to kill the sprite. But he rolls really low, and he seems to miss. It seems as if it's what was ordained may not quite be so ordained, as he winces in pain from the exertion. On the Dark Power table, they don't get any help. At the end of their turn, they are barely there, but the Elemental League are hanging on. On their turn, Rowan moves to protect the Swite with her defend. The sniper shoots at the troll zombie, weakening it and hopefully slowing it down. She hits and does 2 damage, slowing down more effectively the troll zombie. Laurel moves around at a double time to go on the other side of the troll zombie to stop him from blocking the centaurs. At the end of their turn, they are holding on by a thread. The troll zombie attacks Laurel. He hits, wounding her, taking her down significantly less. Both archers push to try and attack the centaur warrior, but they miss, and both of them take some fatigue damage. The skeletons also attack, but they also miss. At the end of their turn, the Necropolis Sect are still holding on, but the Elemental League now has a chance. On the Dark Power table, there is no further help at this moment. On their turn, the Centaur charges to clear a path for his brother by clearing the Centaur Archer. He hits and kills the Centaur Archer. The Centaur Archer attempts to break away from the Skeleton Archer to move in base contact with the Grave Robber. He engages the Grave Robber. Time seems to be on their side now. Sensing that victory is out of his grasp, the Grave Robber now lashes out to maim and kill all he can. Both Flesh Golems attack the wounded Crystal Bladesman. They hit him and take 2 further damage, which will kill him. The Troll Zombie pushes to attack Laurel again, but he misses. In wrath, the Grave Robber attacks to try and kill the Crystal Sprite. He attacks, but this time the defend of Rowan is able to protect her. The Dark Power table also doesn't help. The Centaur raises his axe and attacks the Grave Robber just as he turns to face his doom. He hits, doing 3 damage to the grave robber and demoralizing him. Demoralized and seeing his defeat, the grave robber falls to the ground and cowering, begging for mercy. As he does so, his minions begin to quake and to shudder, and soon afterwards they all fall over lifeless. With the battle won, the grave robber now begs for mercy, asking to please spare him. Afterwards, in guarding him, the grave robber pleads, "It wasn't my fault. I'm only a servant of my master. He made me do it." Rowan asks, "Who is your master?" In the heat of the battle, they had paid no attention to the statue behind them. A large statue stood in the grove that had not been there before. It is as if a giant robed thing had walked onto the spot and sat down, patiently waiting to be free from his stone prison. A rising anger and quaking is felt. A power emanates from the statue as if it is about to stand up and attack. Rowan holds up her staff to fight off the dark energy. The statue slowly subsides into solid rock again. A solemn silence lingers for a moment. She looks at the grave robber and her guards and tells them, "Take him away. Laurel, see to it he is bound tight, and we will speak afterwards." After the battlefield, Rowan meets with the brave sprite and says, "Let me heal you." After going to full health, they continue their conversation. She thanks her, Priestess Rowan. Priestess Rowan says, "No, thank you. Hopefully there will be more courage like yours in the coming days ahead, for this is only the beginning." A somber moment passes. The sprite finally speaks. "Well, Priestess, I will be on my way to alert the others." The sprite turns mid-flight. Rowan quickly asks, "What is your name?" The sprite turns and smiles, "Ariel," and then flutters off. Rowan and Laurel meet again with their prisoner. Rowan looks at him disgustingly. "I will deal with this one." She then turns to Laurel. "Go alert the troll and centaur tribes." Laurel bows and says, "As you wish, Priestess." They both part ways. At the end of the battlefield, the Elemental League will receive 3 victory points, and the Necropolis Sect will lose 3 victory points. At this point, I want to say thank you for watching as always. I'm always available in Universal Battles 2. I'm always interested in feedback, especially on these campaign reports. I know I'm going to be working to improve them. As always, like, subscribe, and comment. Give suggestions for what future battles you would like to see. And if you're in Austin, we always have the Austin Alternative Gaming Freaks. Thank you for watching this first in mini campaign battle.